Welcome to the Taratanga circuit in New Zealand for round number 4 of our 1966 Tasman series, here to complete the New Zealand part of the championship before we head over to Australia for the second half. And very excited to be here at Taratanga. This is an unreleased circuit for Grand Prix Legends. Was given to me by some folks over at the Sim Racing Mirror Zone, namely Chris, with the proviso that this is a beta track, but I have to tell you, it looks quite complete to me, and race is awesome as well. So very excited to be able to race at the real circuit, and can't thank those guys enough. And I think it's the 68 version of the track, but from what I've seen, it's not terribly different, or even if it is, it's awesome to be on location. The Taratanga circuit was a popular track in New Zealand, still is to this day. I believe it holds the record in New Zealand of hosting the most FIA sanctioned races, but all throughout the 60s and 70s hosted Formula Racing, and the likes of Jim Clark and Sterling Moss and others made their way here and did some awesome racing. So we're here for round number 4. We'll take a quick look at the championship points. Jim Clark still leading the way with the 2 wins for the first 2 rounds, but he didn't score points in the last race at Wigram, so things have opened up a little bit. This part of the championship, the 3 rounds here in red, we have 1 drop race for every driver between those. So theoretically, if Jim Clark does well at this race, he'll be dropping his last round at Wigram. But for myself, Richie Axelson, I'm in second. I've got a 4 points and 6 points in the last round, so I can do fairly well if I come in second or win this race. I could drop round 2 there from Levin and be in pretty good standing. This dropping points or dropping certain races does help tighten the championship a bit. Also allows a driver to miss a race or 2 and still be in it. So Jim Palmer behind, he did awesome in the last race at Wigram, was really untouchable for me in the other Lotus car. So he's one to look out for. He could be sneaky there, just a couple points behind. Then we get on to Spencer Martin, one of the locals, with Richard Atwood in the BRM, but I do hear Graham Hill may be coming back. And then Jackie Stewart, surprisingly pretty far back, because he did dominate in the Tasman Series in 1966. Talking about the real race, so this race took place on the 29th of January, just a few days after that Riverside race that I just did, the Riverside 500, and it was won by Jackie Stewart from Frank Gardner and Jim Palmer in third. And it looked like Jim Clark led early. He was definitely quick in practice and everything, but he spun off the track, punctured his radiator, and had to retire very early in the race. And the race went on from there. It sounded quite processional. The notes on the race said there was one exciting moment where Jackie Stewart's gear popped out while he was crossing the start-finish line, but beyond that, nothing too notable. Originally scheduled for 50 laps, but just before the end of the race, Bill Caldwell, one of the local drivers, had a stuck throttle in the S's part of the circuit, and it threw the car off and unfortunately ended in a fatal accident for Bill, as well as a couple spectators, and the race was called shortly thereafter. It sounded like a pretty gruesome incident and very unfortunate, but it was kind of the norm in the 60s to have bad accidents, and having a driver killed wasn't that unusual. So Bill will be racing here with us today, hopefully make it through the race safe, and then I guess in my fictional world here, he'll just be retiring, having been done with his racing career. But very sad, Bill Caldwell passing away during this race in real life. But Jackie Stewart was still credited the win. They did complete 46 of the 50 laps during the race. And this was another race that had heat racing, and so we will do the same thing as I've done for the past couple Tasman Series races and do some heat racing. And we'll take a look at the practice results, the qualifying results for this. Jim Clark is up front with a 1:03.02, very quick, but Jackie Stewart not too far behind, so maybe Jackie's finally going to become a force in this championship. And then Richie Axelson, I'm in third position with a 1:03.6, so I'm a little ways off. I feel like I can actually go quicker, though. It's a new circuit for me, so having to learn it just as, I guess, Richie would in this scenario. And then Frank Gardner behind with Spencer Martin rounding out the cars that did get into the 103s. Nothing too notable from there. I guess Jim Palmer is back to kind of where he would belong, being a little further back. But shorter grid, 16 cars, should still make for some interesting racing. We'll split up that grid into 2 halves for the heat races and go 4 laps apiece through the heat races, and that will set our grid for the feature race, which will do 15 laps, 30% of the 50 that would have been done in real life. And we'll take a look at the Taratanga circuit. It's a really cool track, and like I said in the intro, I believe this version is modeled more after 1968. I don't exactly know what the difference would have been for 1966. I'm sure somebody will tell me in the comments, but very cool track, and it looks very similar to how it is today. Very long front straightaway going into what they call the loop, which is a really, really long left-hander, more than 180 degrees, so you have to try to plan your apex to be very late there. And then you get into a couple difficult corners. Control Tower Bend is quite the tough corner with a kind of a late apex, but a braking while you're turning. Definitely look out for incidents there. You go through the S's, through what they call the hairpin, which isn't that slow of a corner, and then down to the elbow, which feels more like a hairpin. It's a 90-degree corner, fairly slow, but sets you up for that front straightaway, so you want to get a good exit. Altogether, it's a pretty quick track, but a little bit bigger than, I guess, Levin or even the first round, even though that wasn't the real circuit for Pukekohe. So excited to be back in the Formula cars and the more nimble automobiles, but the race out in California went very well, and I'm sure Dan Gurdy noticed that. So I'll be racing my trusty Brabham BT11 here, but maybe that won't be for too much longer. So I'll get started with heat number one. I'm in heat number one with Jim Clark and Spencer Martin, so it's going to be a pretty tough heat. See if I can best Jim Clark here, though. All right, so here we are on the grid, about halfway down that long straightaway. Just got Jim Clark alongside, but on the front row. Flag is up, down right away, we're underway. Struggling for grip off the line. We'll get flat out. Spencer Martin was alongside me there, but Jim Clark is going to get the run into T1. The long loop corner. We'll just slide in behind Clark here and just have to wait our time. Easy to slide out wide like I'm doing. It's just such a long corner. Try to get back on the throttle a little bit quicker than Clark here, but not going to be able to get around. We'll come into control bend down to third gear. It's a late apex. Clark almost stopping on the apex. Then back on the throttle through the S's. Clark, once again, he's so slow. I just got to find a way around him here. Down to second gear. I can see Palmer in my mirrors. Don't want him to get around me again, but now we'll fly through Brickyard corner and down towards the final turn. Very tight corner, down to second gear, I think. We'll just let it roll on through, try to keep the speed up, because then we want to go flat out for the straightaways. And Jim Clark pulling away from me will complete the first of 4 laps, so as ever with the heat races, it's very furious. But Clark's got quite a lot of speed on the straightaway. I feel like I'm quicker through the twisty stuff with my Brabham here. Still powered with the Climax engine, so not quite all the power, but catching right up to Clark there. Car snapping with a little bit of oversteer. Easy to outdo it into this corner. Car snapping again. We're just right on the back of him. Don't want to touch him. Lock it up a little bit. Come down to second for what they call the hairpin. We'll head towards the end of the lap, so sticking with Clark through the twisty stuff. Down to first gear this time, but on the straightaway. Let's try to get a good run out of it, but car braking sideways there. And he's just so much quicker in a straight line. Come brake just before the 1 marker there, down to third gear. Just let the car do the work through the corner. It's easy to just carry a little too much speed through there and have the car run wide, but pulling in on Clark again. Up to fourth gear, back down to third. Feel like there might be an opportunity up the inside there, maybe. Thought about it for a second, but no space. Clark keeps it pretty tidy. Put it down to second for the hairpin here. So we'll come to the line. 1 more corner to go, and then to the line to start the final lap, so I don't have much of an opportunity. But you got to remember the heat races, this is half the grid, so I'm either looking at starting on the front row or on the second row based off my finish here. Clark gonna get the run out of the corner again. We'll come to the line to start the final lap of the first heat race. Go as deep as I can into turn one. Well, car gets a nice turn in there. A little bit of counter steering, but that never hurt you. See if I can leave it just a second later. Want to come up the inside up here, but yeah, I don't know. It's the heat race. Oh, just struggling with the wheel. Clark slowing up quite a bit there. See if I can maybe... Nope, not able to get around the outside. Come down to second gear. Right on his gearbox now, but he's going to pull out a little bit here on this straightaway. Come to the final corner, up the inside. Oh, locking the tires, going to head off into the grass. Oh, I put it all on the line there, but now struggling just get back on the circuit before the cars behind come past. So Jim Clark outsmarted me there. That was quite the move in the final corner. I guess recovering all right. That's just the heat race, but coming away in second position. So Jim Clark knows I was there, but gonna have to try to pass him a little more tactfully than that in the feature. So taking a look at the results from Heat 1, Jim Clark able to get that win from myself, Richie Axelson. I gave it everything in the final corner there, but a little daring. He just waited on the brakes and let me take care of myself. But then Jim Palmer in third for Lotus with Spencer Martin behind. And it looks like Marwood had a header go bad, so they'll be struggling to change that before the feature race. But I did get the fastest lap, and it doesn't mean anything in the Tasman series. No points even awarded for the feature, but it does bode well. I'm much quicker through the twisty section, but the straightaway is difficult, and that would obviously be the easiest place to pass. So I should be starting either third or fourth, depending on Heat 2. So let's get to Heat 2. So here we are for Heat number 2, and the front row is the full story for this one. We've got both BRMs, so Stewart and Atwood starting on the front row, sandwiching Frank Gardner there. So it'd be interesting to see who gets the run off the line. This track has a couple good passing opportunities, I guess, as long as you're quick in that straight line, but we'll see how it goes. Flag is up. Down, we're underway. Equal start off the line for the three up front. Looks like Atwood might have a little bit of an advantage, but we'll head towards the first corner. Who's going to chicken out first? Well, it looks like Atwood sweeping around the outside, but Frank Gardner is able to get it away from Jackie Stewart. Jackie lined up right behind him on the inside. See if he tries to overtake his teammate here. The three up front getting away quite quickly from Marwood behind them, so they'll stream towards this tough right-hand corner. So it's Frank Gardner from Jackie Stewart from Richard Atwood, and they'll come now through the S's in a nice line, but the story will be once they get back to the front straightaway to see how quick the cars are in a straight line. Jackie Stewart hanging right in with Frank Gardner, so come through the hairpin and head towards the final corner. So here they come now, Frank Gardner coming through, Jackie Stewart, Richard Atwood, processional, getting backed up a little bit there, but now into the front straightaway, flat out. And they'll come across the line to complete lap 1 of 4 in the second heat. So Gardner's got some legs on him in the lead. Whoa, Atwood running a little bit wide behind. Stewart able to pick it back up though. Stewart right on the back of Gardner now. This is where the battle is going to be up front. See if Stewart can do what I couldn't do and get around. Oh, he's going to look up the inside as he'll come. There we go. Up the inside, Jackie Stewart. Oh, he's going to... Frank Gardner's going to get in front of him. No fall back in line, but a good try by Jackie Stewart to try to get around Frank Gardner there. Gardner stoic as ever. Jackie runs a little bit wide. Atwood now closing back up on his teammate. And they'll come down to the end of the lap to the final corner. Oh, getting backed up again. Come onto the front straightaway. Complete lap number 2, so halfway in Heat 2. As competitive as ever, maybe even more competitive than the first heat. Gardner from Stewart from Atwood. Come back into the first corner, the long loop. Atwood running that outside line again, maybe just looking for a way to pick up a little time on his teammate, but Stewart seems to have him covered. Stewart not nearly as close to Gardner this time to make a move. He'll just stay in line, work their way through the tighter corners, and now into the S's. The three up front, though, making a good show of it. Jackie Stewart right on the back of Gardner now, so he's able to pull up on him through the S's. He'll look up the inside, but there's a little kink here, and then they'll head towards the final corner. You don't want to be too close on entry here. Oh, he's going to run a little wide. Get back onto the front straightaway so they complete the third lap. Just one more lap to go in heat number 2. Who will it be? Gardner, Stewart, or maybe even Atwood? So they'll come across the line. Oh, Stewart's got his hand raised. Something wrong with the engine in the BRM. Oh, Jackie Stewart retiring. We'll focus here then on Richard Atwood. Can he catch up to Gardner? But amazing stuff in the final lap of the heat race. Maybe Jackie Stewart preserving the engine. He maybe felt something wrong, wants to save it for the heat, but Stewart's going to have a very difficult time now, basically starting last on the grid. Big stuff then in the final lap of the heat. Atwood's going to try to chase down Gardner, but not sure he's going to be able to do it. He'll swing out a little bit wide through the hairpin, gather it back up, but it's all Frank Gardner now. So coming into the final corner, look here at Gardner. He'll come in, take the corner like a pro. He's got nobody directly on him now. Atwood just hanging on. So coming to the line, Frank Gardner ahead of Atwood. We'll look on down. I think it's Marwood and Buchanan potentially. Here's Graham Lawrence. And the red car of Hollier, and finally Caldwell rounding out Heat 2. Jackie Stewart not finishing. So the heat races are complete, and we'll take a look at the final starting grid. Jim Clark winning heat number 1, which was the faster of the two. He'll start on the pole alongside Frank Gardner and myself, Richie Axelson. So I'll have a front row. That's the nice thing about these 3-wide starting grids. But Richard Atwood, Jim Palmer, and Buchanan behind us. The big story definitely was Jackie Stewart breaking down there with a gearbox issue, it turned out to be. And so he'll start dead last and see how far he can get up. Hopefully don't have those gremlins return. So this should be a fun race. I like the circuit a lot. It's a really fun one. So let's get started with round number 4 of the Tasman Series here at Taratanga. All right, and on the grid, front row outside, Frank Gardner next to me. Can see Palmer in my windows, but flag is up, down, we're underway. Getting away pretty quickly, but I can hear the cars next to me as there goes Jim Clark. Wow, so he's able to get away. Whoa, and I touch it on the grass, but able to collect it up going into T1. Very close call there, but I think I've got Gardner alongside me as we'll come through the long sweeper here. But able to get in front of him, so coming away in second. Very scary moment there into turn 1 though, and back to where I was in the heat race, but checking my mirrors a bit more, just because I know Gardner's very quick too. Jim Clark slow again through this S's section, but opening lap, it's a little bit longer of a race, 15 laps, so I can maybe not take such a daring move. I can see Atwood now behind me working on Gardner, so maybe that'll keep him preoccupied. We'll come to the final corner. I'll keep it in line on this opening lap. Sweep it through, try to get on the throttle, see just how quick they are in a straight line. And Jim Clark is ever pulling away. So I really need a new engine. That's absolutely for sure. Come down to third gear for turn 1. Gardner actually got quite close to me there. Oh, and sliding the car through. That has a good amount of grip, able to pull in quite a lot on Jim Clark. Come down to third gear here for this right-hander. Oh, getting all crossed up there. I'm gonna have to take him where he least expects it. Come down a second for the hairpin. Flat out then. Oh, I'm pulling up on him in the same spot, but well, I don't want to outbrake myself again. Come down to first gear. Oh, getting all kinds of wheel spin, wheel all over the place. Back on the front straightaway, terrible exit there through the final corner, and Clark is just absolutely gone. Come across the line, complete the second lap. Have to check my pit board next time by just to make sure I know what lap I'm on. But back in a T1. So I really just need to be close to him through T1 because I definitely have a lot of speed through this middle section. We'll come to the outside of the circuit here. Late apex. There we go. Oh, right on Clark now. Come down to second gear. I feel like it would almost be a bad thing to pass him in the last corner because he's so much quicker on the straight. See if I can maybe back up my entry and exit. Oh, exiting almost alongside of him, but in a drag race it would not work out, but I'm closer than I've ever been. So we complete another lap here up to fifth gear. Putting on a bit of a spectacle for the fans. Not gonna let Jim Clark get away with another one. Just ease it on through, closing up quite a bit, but nowhere really to go. See if I can get maybe alongside of him here. He's gonna take the line away from me. Come down to second. He can carry a lot more speed through there, but he's just blocking the racing line. He knows what he's doing. Come up to the hairpin, breaks into some of the corners really well, so not easy to throw it up the inside. Oh, I'm missing my gear there. It's always gonna miss at least one gear in a race. All right, up to third, up to fourth. Check the pit board, so P2 with 11 laps. This one's gonna go quick. It's still a pretty short circuit. Not sure if we'll catch any lapped cars. That would certainly make things interesting. It is a really narrow track. Could let it run a little wide in the middle, gas it up for a minute. Want to let it just run a bit further in here. Oh, able to get alongside Clark. Oh, but he pushes me into the grass. He's playing chicken with the tires there. You really, like ever, you cannot touch those tires. The white tires in the dirt there, they will absolutely destroy the suspension on the car. But I got closer than ever to Clark, so maybe his armor is crumbling a little bit. Back down the straightaway though, Clark just leaves me in the dust. Sliding in really nicely into T1. Just wait on the throttle. See if I can maybe do the same thing again, but just better this time. So I leave it out wide here. Oh, coming around the outside. Yeah, able to get really alongside of him, making the pass on the outside on Jim Clark. Now I gotta concentrate, try to build a little bit of a gap before the straightaway. Down to second gear, come through the hairpin. Get back on the throttle now, we'll head towards the final corner. Heart racing, but I got around Jim Clark finally. Whoa, locking it up a little bit into the final corner. Gonna miss the apex just slightly. On the gas then. Got a little bit of a gap. We're just gonna watch the mirrors now as we'll come across the line. Oh, and he's pulling in, but I think I might be able to stay in front of him here. So come to turn one. Down to third gear, trying not to outbrake myself, but yeah, staying in front of Clark, and if I can just get this lap right, I should build up a little bit of a gap. Come down to third. This corner, you can actually go pretty hard into it. I was very conservative that time. Get on the throttle, car lurching sideways. Come down a second for the hairpin. Oh, so first few laps were pretty hectic there, but able to finally get around Clark. He's much slower through that section of the circuit. Maybe something off with the handling. On the straightaway though, blindingly quick. We'll come across the line, take a look at the pit board here. Okay, I got 8 laps to go. Nobody in front of me, that's what I like to see. But 8 laps is a good amount of time. Just gotta put in the laps then, nice and smooth. Down to third gear, just wait for it. It's a very frustrating corner. Down to third for this one. Let the car get to the outside of the circuit. Oh, I missed the apex there a little bit. Car lurching all over the circuit. There we go. Not handling supremely well. Maybe I'm just used to those heavy stock cars at this stage. Locking up the tires again, coming to the final corner. It's different pavement here, so maybe it's not quite as grippy there. Oh, I'm missing my gear. That's not what I need to be doing. The shifting is a lot quicker in this car than the NASCAR was, so making excuses, but leaving it up to the Grand National race that I just completed. Just slide off the line, but that's good. Make the corner a little wider, clip the apex on the exit. Missed it there though. In third. Come around. Corner there, just clip it later. The S is good rhythm track, honestly. I can see why it's a popular circuit in New Zealand. And for a 60s track, I know in the intro I explained that this race did have a death, but the track is relatively safe. You know, there's a lot of runoff, just very much a freak accident, especially at a circuit like this, but you can see how with a couple barriers, this could be a very safe club track like it is today. Come across the line then, complete another lap. Everything working out well so far. Just gotta think if I'm gonna hit any lap traffic, I don't know. It's a short lap, so I might have to look at the pit board next time by, see how many laps there are to go. Oh, just slide to the outside of the track. Easy to lose the car there because the entry line is right against the edge of the circuit. The further to the edge you get, the faster you're gonna go, but it's also very risky as, oh, I have a ton of opposite lock on it there. That was lucky to get away with it. Was along for the ride for a second. Just put my head back down. Come down to second gear for the final corner. Oh, and I can see a car ahead, so definitely will be catching some lap traffic here. Take a look at the pit board. P1, 5 laps to go, so not too much more time, but definitely gonna hit that group of cars if I've caught up to them this quick. While fighting with another car. Just have to play it nice and easy. Totally left Clark in the dust. I really haven't seen him behind me. Oh, getting all kinds of sideways. That corner is so difficult. A second for the hairpin. All right, so probably on the next lap I'll catch this group. 3 cars in front, so it's not too many, but they're all packed together, which is always hard. Oh, and they're fighting for position as well, going into the last corner. Of course, gonna make the end of my race interesting. I'm missing my gear again. It's shifting up from third to fourth always gets me. Gear counter is going to be quite high for this one. Hopefully won't end up like Jackie Stewart. No sign of Stewart, so he definitely got around at least a few cars. So we'll come to the tight part of the circuit, and I'm stuck behind a string of lapped cars. Can I maybe make a move up the outside on one of them? There we go. So making it around Caldwell there. Ken Sager in front now, but just don't want to do anything too drastic. Come down a second. He's going to leave the inside open. Nope, he's going to take it. Come on, Sager. Thank you. Whoa, hitting it off the curb a little bit. We'll come to the final corner. One more car there. All right, letting me by into the front straightaway, so made it past those lap cars. We'll take a look at the pit board then. 3 more laps to go. Clark was 5 seconds back on the last lap. Undoubtedly would have caught up a bit through that, but he's going to get past him as well. Down to third gear. Just ease it on through. You can see a red car in front of me now. So we'll have at least one more to deal with. Oh, sliding out a little bit wide. All right, coming around then, slower car is going to let me by, thankfully in a good spot. Come to the end of the lap. That's about as good as you could ask for passing a slower car. All right, so we'll come to the line, just a couple more laps to go. Jim Clark pulled into 3 seconds, but I have a clear track in front of me now. Down to third gear. This track would absolutely destroy the right front with that corner specifically. But although my car's a little slower in a straight line, luckily this track has plenty of turns. But we'll be asking Sir Jack Brabham for maybe something a little more potent. All right, come down to second gear, come through the final corner. So we'll come to the line. One more lap to go. I can see a car just off in the distance there, but it should be far enough ahead, I would think, at this point. Oh, I pulled back out to 7 seconds, so Clark got caught up and all that traffic. So pressure off, just gonna make a nice, clean, smooth lap. Ooh, green flag being shown generally means something happened behind me. We'll come through turn 1, sliding a little bit wide. Oh, getting that corner all wrong. I don't think I got it right the whole race. Down a second gear for the hairpin. A little bit of a wide line there, but making it work. Now up the gears. I see a yellow flag ahead. I'll honor that. I don't know what happened. Oh, I see a car off. A car off in the brush. But we'll come through the final corner then. Look straight ahead. Should be a checkered flag waving. And there it is. Come to the line. Fist raised. Winning in the Tasman Series. It's not a full Formula One win, but it is a win. Very excited about that. I think that will be Richie Axelson's first real major victory. Coming away with a podium in Formula One last season, but first win with the BT11 here in Australia. Very good, and that's going to do wonders for the championship. This is a good track. I like this circuit a lot. It's very much like a club track I could imagine racing some smaller touring cars or sports cars around here and having a really good time. But for these cars as well, it's not too bad. It's just a little narrow. It got a little scary trying to pass somebody, but that move around the outside on Clark was good. But happy to get it done. Just a few days after finishing 4th at Riverside, come away with a win. Things are looking up. We see a car off. I'm not sure who that is. I'll have to look at the final results, but hopefully driver all right there. But we'll come through the final corner. There's Clark. He's going to pass me. Fist raised. Thank you. I think he's cheering me on. He must be. We'll come into the pit lane to wrap up this one. Do the full cool down lap when you in a race. You got to celebrate a little bit. No donuts or anything though back in these days. That's a new invention. Thank you, Mr. Zanardi. So taking a look at the final results, Richie Axelson gets the win up top there in front of Jim Clark after making a daring pass around the outside, with Frank Gardner in 3rd on the podium. So a good looking podium and just the way I'd want to see it. Maybe if Jim Clark finished further down, but I'll take the win regardless. Richard Atwood in the BRM came away 4th, Spencer Martin in 5th, and Buchanan in 6th place. If we look down, Jackie Stewart was able to get up to P8, and he did finish the race. So a good run there for Jackie to get through basically half the field on a very tight and treacherous circuit. We'll look further down. Looks like Sager ran into some issues. Maybe that was the car we saw off, but Graham Lawrence and Jim Palmer with a blown piston, so the winner in the last round, finishing in last position. All right, and so a look at the points, and things get a little complicated here, so stick with me, but Jim Clark leads the way with 24 points from myself, Richie Axelson, in 2nd with 17 points. So we all get a drop race now within this New Zealand part of the championship, but we can't drop the New Zealand Grand Prix, which would have been my preferred race to drop. But both the New Zealand Grand Prix and the Australian Grand Prix, the 2 rounds highlighted in gold or yellow there, they must count. We have to count the points from those. They're undroppable. So I only got 2 points from the 5th place finish I had at Pukekohe, so I have to keep that 2 points, but I do get to drop my round at 11 with the 4 points, and I keep a 2nd place and a 1st place. So I end up with 17. Jim Clark kind of just betters his result, unfortunately. Even though I beat him, kind of feels like a defeat. I won the battle, but he won the war so far. But he's got his 2 wins and a 2nd place, stacking up pretty good. But the second half of the championship is coming up. We've got Jim Palmer and Spencer Martin tied in 3rd place, with Spencer Martin having the win, so I think he would be ahead of Spencer Martin. And then Richard Atwood, Red Dawson, Jackie Stewart, and Graham Hill, who might be rejoining us. We'll have to see. But overall, a good race. I'm happy, obviously, to get the win. Passing Jim Clark around the outside was awesome, and very much looking forward to this second half of the championship. But there might be a brief interlude between then and now. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you all again next time.